I need to do my homework more, I think.
Well, I think that's...
Am I going to get quizzed at the end of the month? It's like, have you done your homework? Have you done your Prince homework? Hi, my name's Lee. I'm one of the founders of Prince Party UK, and been a Prince fan since the early 90s.
Yep, I'm Chopin. I'm one of the London Meetup group, and I've been a Prince fan since pretty much the same year as Lee.
Yeah. That's how we bonded.
92,
yeah.
92.
Dipped my toe in with the Batman album, and then it was Diamonds and Pearls.
So I dipped my toe in about 91, but it wasn't until 92 where I realised, I'm a Prince fan. I love all this stuff.
Yeah. Hi, my name's Lee, and I'm a Prince fan. It's been 25 minutes since I listened to my last Prince song.
It's been about no seconds since my last conversation about Prince.
So, what's your thoughts on the latest reissues that are going to be released on the 17th of April?
Okay, so the Rainbow Children, One Night Alone Live, and It Ain't Over.
Yeah, It Ain't Over. For some reason, I thought that was a bootleg. Like when I think I saw it somewhere in a shop, and I always thought it because it kind of the artwork on the front.
It's interesting. He's kind of one of the reasons I found this era so exciting was because the artwork looked a little bootleggy, and I was a little obsessed. At this point, I was a little obsessed with bootleg culture, and when Prince brought everything back in house, like 96, 97, so like starting with like kind of the Crystal Ball, Chaos and Disorder, that kind of era. Actually, that's one of the reasons I got so heavily into him in like this wave.
Was because of how the artwork...
Yeah, because like when for me, like after 95, he changes his sound. Chaos and Disorder and everything. Chaos and Disorder is kind of like the last of the kind of gold era sounding stuff. Mm-hmm. And then once Emancipation comes in, it was like, oh, this is completely different. New Power Soul, this is completely different. Again. And it was like the artwork, it was kind of bootleggy. So it was kind of like, all right, I'm used to...
Do you think that was done on purpose, or is it just more to just get it out? And
well, apparently Crystal Ball was. That's what Steve Park said, was that Crystal Ball was basically a reference to bootleg culture, and the reason the plastic disc was there was something that can't be bootlegged. Yeah,
because I bought the plastic spindle, I think it was Brixton, and I remember seeing it. I think it was like £50 or something like that, and it was just all the discs in a spindle, and then you could go to a website and download the artwork, and it had all the tracks and stuff on there and everything, which I think you can still... I'll post the link up in the podcast. There's still a website that's archived all the... I think it's Prince Museum online. Yeah. And it's got all the stuff...
There's a little picture of me on there.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
From the MPG Music Club, there's a picture of me on stage during the One Night Alone tour.
I'm so going to Google that.
Exactly. I'll show you the link to it. It's pretty
I think it's Prince Museum online. It's got all the websites, and I think the Crystal Ball website's on there, and you can still see all the stuff.
As an aside, talking about this artwork for this era, is that it's interesting that Graffiti Bridge is Steve Parks, doing what he's trained to do, which is the painting, and then it's the same person doing Crystal Ball, the New Power Soul, is the same artist kind of learning this new stuff. Yeah. And it's interesting, it's the same person, but the aesthetic is totally different.
To match the change in style?
Well, yeah, exactly. So he surrounded himself with people that changed as much as he did, and kind of just went on the ride, and I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on the Legacy reissues then?
As someone who missed out on the Rainbow Children vinyl first time round, I'm extremely happy.
Because it's like gold dust, isn't it? I remember someone posted up a video.
I've seen them go for like $6. I mean, I remember seeing it, the original ones for like it was originally 35, but I missed the last one in the shop by about half an hour, so it was £35, so I was gutted. Then it was at a time when I weren't earning very much money, so it was like 100. Then it went straight up to £100 like a month later, and then it stayed around 200-ish.
Is it still, what's that? What's
No,
the price?
until he died, and then for some reason, the minute he died, it went up to 600 to 1,000
For the original vinyl?
Yeah, I saw them for about between 5 at the lower end, 1,000 at the higher end. And the weirdest thing about that is my immediate thought when he died, with all of this stuff going up in price, I'm like, I don't understand, because it's more likely to be reissued once he's died than with him alive. Like, because Prince isn't going to reissue the Rainbow Children. He's got the next 1,000 albums to release in his head. You know, Rainbow Children is a long distance, but like from a reissuer's point, the minute he passed, you know, one of the immediate things I kind of thought of was, you know, after the initial shock of, oh, it's sad, was like, okay, so I'm guessing the Rainbow Children's going to be reissued at some point. And it was like in the first week, I remember thinking that.
So with the original version of the vinyl, and when the reissue comes out, what happens to the price? This is probably a really stupid question.
No, I think it stays the same.
It stays the same.
Because, first of all, it's black vinyl. It's not clear vinyl. It's still a first edition. Mm-hmm. You know, the first edition of Charles Dickens, you know, A Christmas Carol.
That's what I thought.
It's still the same price after every reissue of A Christmas Carol. It's still the first edition from a collector's point of view. I mean, it's the same thing happened to His Majesty's Pop Life when they did it for the record store day.
So when I was out at Paisley in April for the celebration, we heard rumours, Sony Legacy were there, and we heard rumours that Rainbow Children was going to be issued, so we kind of knew it was going to happen. So not surprised that it
although I'm pretty sure it's a safe bet that, you know, think about the albums that have been left that haven't been reissued, things like News, Expectation, and C-Note, which would make a great triple reissue. As long as we've
Do you think that's going to happen? Do you think we're going to get?
Yeah, why not? I mean, did anybody think Chaos and is Chaos and Disorder any more immediate a need than Expectation on News?
True.
Right?
Yeah.
Was anybody who wanted the Versace experience on cassette on vinyl is pretty much going to buy News or Expectation or C-Note, right?
Yeah.
At this point.
And also the originals as well.
Well, those weren't.
It wasn't a reissue, but it was more
Expectation, Chocolate Invasion, Slaughterhouse have never officially had a physical release.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think that we'll see any physical releases of them?
I don't see why not. I'm not there here to guarantee and say what's.
I love Daisy Chain.
Daisy Chain is fantastic.
Yeah,
I always thought that should have been like a separate 7-inch.
Yeah.
But you know, like, that's another thing. The MPG Music Club singles that they did, the CDs with like Peace and Super Cute and Gamilla and stuff. That would be a great series of 7-inches to come out.
Yes.
Right? Do them as 45 vinyls.
Why are you not working there? Seriously. Hire this guy.
With the artwork, because they were like flat card CDs and with artwork on each side. Like, can you imagine Daisy Chain Gamilla 7-inch with the artwork on both sides? I would be into that.
That's a really good... Yeah.
The only thing I would request and beg and plead with the estate is with News, please make it 180 gram vinyl, whatever the color is, make it 180 gram full, you know, audio file. It deserves it. Plus, can you make it so it's the fold out artwork?
Oh, so it's the fold out,
like the CD where it folds out and it's a compass.
Yeah, I was going to say it should be like a compass.
And also make it, rather than try and compress it onto 2 songs on each side, which I don't think you can because they're 14 discs, that's going to have to be a double album with 1 song on each side. North, East, West and South. Because they're 14 minutes, you can't fit 2 of them on...
Yeah, so North, East...
West and South. just 2 discs, 1 song each side, 180 gram full pressel. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. That's the only. Well.
Do you think that can be done? Yeah, it can be done, can't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the best way to do it.
Yeah, I was just trying to work that out in my head. Yeah.
Rather than
See,
try and
cram. Why are you not working there? Seriously. Hire this guy. If they do it now, then they know.
This is my audition tape.
I'm currently looking at a job at Paisley Park.
I was a trained archivist. No.
You can download his CV via this link.
I'm available to relocate to Minneapolis or Los Angeles.
Yeah, exactly. So that's Rainbow Children. Are you happy? Because obviously we talked about this before we started recording. Was about the artwork and the mat.
Okay, the idea of these being reissued, I don't understand being anything but happy that these things are coming out. Right?
Mm-hmm. My mindset is that as a fan, whatever comes out, you should support it because it helps the estate, and it costs money to run Paisley Park. The visiting numbers for Celebration have been dropping, so just support it, support the music, support Prince as much as you can. That's my, I don't critique. I don't feel that I should be criticising what is and what isn't being released, as long as there is stuff being re-released. I think
you can critique. Critique is always good, like the Rainbow Children, the slip mat that comes with it. It's great, the idea of it coming with a slip mat. Problem is the slip mat would look better with 2010. So when you reissue 2010 on clear vinyl, give it a Rainbow Children slip mat and we'll just swap them around ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I remember we talked about this, so someone photoshopped it with the image of him.
Yeah. The cover of the Work single.
Was it the Work? Yeah.
I think that's a poor choice. So you can critique that.
Wasn't there a criticism that the vinyl was clear and it should be purple like the other reissues? Or you don't think it doesn't matter?
Sure, fine, whatever. It's Rainbow Children on vinyl.
Stop complaining.
It could be a picture disc of Donald Trump. I will still play it, but
no, don't do that.
No, I don't want it, but it would be a.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It does. It's coming back on vinyl.
Sure,
appreciate it.
Again, these are critiques, and critiques are fair, and what you'd prefer is fair. I think the problem is with high emotion in fans of someone that's recently passed. A lot of the time, the critique goes into the realms of this is what he would have wanted, that's what he would have wanted, this is what he would have wanted, rather than I would prefer.
Yeah.
And the truth is, all of my critiques about any of the reissues is I would prefer, not he wouldn't want that, because I don't know Prince. I know his work, and what I know of his work and him is what he wanted in the morning was not necessarily wanted in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So the idea that you can predict what he would have wanted 4 years down the road is ludicrous.
Yeah, it's true. Any more thoughts on the Rainbow Children? Or?
Well, apart from the fact that it's a stellar musical moment, plus it's a stellar musical moment with lyrics that I personally find problematic. I really find that religious approach so different to Lovesexy, but I was still moved by parts of it. She Loves Me for Me and Last December are still beautiful songs. Family Name and Everlasting Now are still very interesting takes on American civil rights history, especially when you think about them being recorded at the same time as something like Avalanche, which is on One Night Alone, and also the live version of Avalanche on One Night Alone tour. I find it a very interesting musical moment, even if I find some of the more dogmatic religious stuff problematic.
But this was the same time as the Kevin Smith stuff, wasn't it? When they did the talks.
Well, Rainbow Children was the year before, I believe. Oh, no, that was that year.
Yeah. And that was the album that they talked about where Kevin Smith interviewed the fans, or am I wrong?
It's one of those celebrations. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was...
Because that was where...
it was the one where Rainbow Children was released.
Yeah, and Kevin Smith talked about Prince holding up a copy of the Bible and getting people to move different sides of the room and stuff, and
Yeah.
it was very much about religion. And
it's interesting that of all the footage of Prince that we know about, that's kind of my least important to see.
yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see the
well,
live shows from those celebrations, but that footage of that particular moment.
Well, he said it was never going to see the light of day anyway from the start. So, if I remember his story correctly,
Isn't that's 90% of what Prince did was
Yeah,
never going to see the light of day.
well, that's what the assistant. That was
that
part
was
of
the
his story.
assumptions.
Yeah, the story
Yeah.
we're talking about, the assistant, where she takes Kevin Smith to one side and said, "The majority of stuff that I've worked on won't see the light of day." So,
And since then, they made 3121, the movie.
yeah.
You know.
Do you ever think that would see the light of day?
I think anything is possible at the moment after, like, I Feel For You demo. My hopes would be that some stuff from the 90s, mid-90s, the more sweary, freedom fighty Prince,
Yeah.
angry at Warner Brothers Prince comes out. But, you know,
Yeah.
I think, you know, they're going to have to milk the 80s a little bit more first.
It's true. So, One Night Alone?
One Night Alone. Here's the thing. To say that One Night Alone is an album that's been previously released, therefore, you know, it's not worth... You know, some of the arguments about not reissuing some of these things, like, well, give us something new, not One Night Alone. Well, let's talk about One Night Alone and how it was released. The fact of the matter is, before the streaming, it's pretty much on CD. It was available for a year if you happen to be one of the people that
How much
paid
is
£100.
that at the moment, do you know?
Well, original ones.
Yeah, the original ones.
I've seen it for above 100 for the original ones. So the original CD, and it was never on vinyl.
No.
It was, you know, it was originally a CD that came as part of the music club. So if you'd paid $100, you got One Night Alone CD. And that's the only physical release. It was available for 1 year if you paid $100 to be part of a club. Other than that, it was just digital streaming for a few years until 2004, and then that all came offline, and then it wasn't officially available until Prince's deal with Tidal,
Right, yeah.
which is 2015,
2014.
2014.
It was 20. Must have been 2014. No,
2014 must have been
2014, 2015. Definitely to 2015.
It was with Hit and Run, so it was about 2014, 2015. Yeah. So it's languishing in the wilderness for 10 years with no official release. So the idea that this is something like Purple Rain or Sign of the Times, where it's just always been readily available to everyone, is kind of, you know, unless you were a kind of a fan at the time, it was pretty much stuff that's unknown to you until, you know.
But this is the first time it's on vinyl, isn't it?
The first time on vinyl was always good. The vinyl collectors. I'm kind of going to flip this at you because this era, I mean, I'm a Prince fan that was constant throughout, and I know that you dipped out some of it. So for you, what's this?
So a lot of it is new because I dipped out around just after Raven Till. Obviously, a lot of stuff going on in my life. I'd just become a dad, and I just started my first job, so I had a lot of stuff going on, and then I think I came back 2007, and then saw him 21 Nights, then got into like musicology, loved the musicology track, 3121, musicology, Planet Earth, so I came back, and then
Planet Lotus Flower,
and Lotus Flower, I became a member and was on the website, and I always loved his, and this is one of my things, is his creativeness with the websites and the online stuff. I was a member of MPG Music Club, and then obviously when Lotus Flower came out and you signed up and you got the t-shirt, I remember the t-shirt coming, it was like, I remember joining, and then I think the t-shirt came like 5 or 6 weeks later, and I was like, Oh yeah, I completely forgot I was getting a free T-shirt.
You actually got your T-shirt because a lot of people didn't.
Oh, didn't they? Because I remember I was at our first the party that I met you at, and I remember Neil had the Lotus Flower T-shirt, and I think I was wearing the Lotus Flower T-shirt. It was like, oh, you had a T-shirt too. Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, right. I thought I was the only one. It was like one of them things. It was like, I thought I only had the Lotus Flower T-shirt. Yeah, and I loved the website on that, and you could navigate all the albums and all the interaction, all the hidden stuff as well. But I remember it was just incredibly slow and laggy and stuff like that. I think that's available on the Prince Online Museum, which was created by, I think, Sam Jennings is the guy.
Sam Jennings. Sam Jennings, I think, was Lotus Flower on. Wasn't he?
Yeah, and I think he's archived all the websites, and you can, because that's what I like to do now. Is I like to go through it and remember what websites that I remember and stuff like that. So, and what things I downloaded and what things, because remember the orb and navigating the videos and stuff like that. So
that was so good.
It was, but it was, you know, and this is, you know, I don't think Prince gets enough credit for his connection to the fans with technology. I think that's always.
I think because he never sustained any of them very long, because Prince can't sustain much long because he gets bored so quick, or he got bored so quickly. So by the time Lotus Flowers, you've created this great, you know, format. It's like he's already kind of gone, oh no, but the future is that now that this exists, the future is something else.
Yeah. But his technology, his love of technology, and how he connected with the fans, has always been one of my fascinations and one of my topics I like to talk about. Yeah. And I'd love to see some kind of subscription service with the estate of like bringing back. I know it's been mentioned by some fans about bringing back MPG Music Club and doing some kind of, because I know people like collecting all the vinyl and stuff, but I'm more of a digital person. I'd like to do some kind of subscription service where you can see a lot of the archive stuff, or you can get new digital releases or music videos, or some kind of subscription service, the Prince version of Netflix, you know, something.
See, my interest would be,
let's go off topic about the reissues or anything. But
this is about how the reissues will be present. You know, you can argue how not argue. That's for other online places. But you can discuss how the best to present it. And for me, I think the online subscription service is an interesting one, but I would approach it in a more archival way. What you would have is, you know, of those 10,000 cassettes they said that they found, like this month's object or this month's cassette or DAT tape that we found is this. You know, and then you'll have all the pictures like you do with
kind of like this is what we found and this is how we're archiving
like
it.
An archive update thing.
And then you kind of have like a news feature about this is what we found, this is where it's from, this is the error, these are the notes that we found with it, or
then you'll have 24, and you can have the option of like an MP3 stream, but you'll also have a 24-bit, you know, WAV DAT mode as well. Yeah. So it could be a subscription service, and it could not only be not limited to just audio. It could be documents and video as well. A script that never got made. This notebook is now a book. You know,
it's like a PDF document of a script or anything like that.
And you could
a digital archive,
exactly, and
accessible by fans.
Accessible by fans. Maybe not the complete archive, because you want to curate more commercial releases. But this could be a place where, for the super nerds to, you know, it doesn't cost much to present it. You know, you don't actually have to physically press any of this stuff. You're archiving anyway, so it could be as a repository for the existing archival process,
and it's revenue for the estate.
Exactly, and you know there'll be a couple of thousand nerds that'll pay through the nose for it. I mean, hello.
Yeah, no,
two of them here.
I'd do that. Yeah, exactly.
Two of them here.
Wow, right. He called me a Prince nerd. I've been ordained.
Oh, I think that was...
No, didn't we have a
not
conversation a
question.
couple of weeks ago? And it was like, I said something, or I remember saying something, and it was like, oh yeah, I do know my Prince stuff, because sometimes I doubt myself, and I was like, oh no, I do know my... Oh, that was it. We was talking about the tape.
Yeah.
That got released of the
Versace experience.
No. It was the
Sampler experience. Right.
experience. It was like, oh yeah, I did know. I do remember what.
Well, I think it. To me, it's not a competition.
No, it's never a competition. But like I said, sometimes
if you love 5 albums and that's all you're into, you're still a fan.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going toe to toe or anything like that.
I
Playing
can't-
trump cards with Prince stuff. Right. So what should we talk about now?
So I haven't finished with One Night Alone.
Okay, you haven't
because
finished.
One Night Alone, is musically beautiful. I fell in love with this album. Driving around Toronto on one snowy day, listening to Avalanche. One snowy week. It is a beautiful snow record, and it and
Snow record. Okay, yeah, go on.
That kind of
It's mental image of
this summer records. That's a perfect record for listening to the beach.
yeah.
This is a perfect record for driving on a snowy day.
No, I understand that.
It's kind of like Charlie Brown's Christmas theme, the Garibaldi kind of like, the plinky plonkiness of it is kind of almost like snowdrops, the delicacy, and it's got some power behind it. Very interesting song choices, and
was there any music videos, or in terms of nothing? Was nothing?
Well, there might be.
Yeah, there might be. Yeah,
that's something for people who work in the vault to find.
Yeah. So during that period, how was it? How was it marketed? Because I can't.
It was marketed as you join the music club, pay your $100, you get priority access to sound checks and live shows, and you get 4 CDs. Mm-hmm. And the 4 CDs were One Night Alone, the 2 discs of One Night Alone live, and the LA Nova, the after shows. Now, if you have a look on the sleeve of One Night Alone, you'll see that there is 3 unhatched eggs and 1 hatched egg of the symbol, which is the CD itself. Because it was the first of the 4 CDs that was distributed. So the artwork itself tells the story of what was meant to happen that year. So those 3 blue eggs on the cover of One Night Alone are the other 3 live CDs.
See, this is why me and you are friends.
One Night Alone and The Truth were incredibly frustrating, because it's like that thing of some of his best work just being hidden away somewhere. And this is, how can you be mad or frustrated about some of his best work getting attention? Which is what this is.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, don't think of it in terms of, I have to buy these things. You don't have to buy these things. The state releases them, and you don't have to buy them. But what it does do is it shines a spotlight on an album that, I don't even think Prince gave the albums their due,
But commercially, they weren't.
No, but I don't think he gave them their due in terms of, spending time like promoting and concentrating on the albums. I think but I don't think somebody like him ever could.
But was it more of like what I talked about his connection to the fans, and it was like he's done it, he's put it out there, and it's directly accessed by the fans. And that was it. That's all he needed to do.
Yeah. That connection was not without its frustrations.
Yeah.
But people have rose-tinted glasses about the past, but there was a lot of people who were frustrated that the other 3 CDs were live CDs, because people were thinking 4 albums.
Right, okay.
And it's actually, like 3 albums, but one of them being a 2-disc album, and so that's 3 live CDs. So people were frustrated at the time with that, but in retrospect, people have just come to, I think, love these for what they are, as a document of a period. It's a great collective document of basically a year.
Yeah.
2 at a stretch. A year and a half.
So what's your thoughts on the collection set, or...
Oh, what, them all being in one big box?
Yeah.
Well, it's just another way to package CD, another way to spot the light on it. If you don't like it, you don't need to buy it. But like I said, those CDs weren't easy to come by.
Yeah.
And given that actually that box set is selling for less than the 3-disc version did in Tower Records at the time when it came out.
How much was it when it came out?
There was £85 in HMV and Tower Records for the 3 discs when it came out. So that box set, you've got the live DVD, the 3 discs that normally cost £85 commercially, plus the One Night Alone CD for, what is it, $38?
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be like about £40 or something like that. So actually, it's incredible compared to what it was in 2002.
But the Aladdin thing was sold separately, wasn't it?
And so was One Night Alone. So you could only get all of those if you'd spent the $100.
Right. So I think I had the Aladdin on VHS.
So those 4 CDs were $100 plus more for the Aladdin DVD, but now they're $40. So how can you be mad about that?
Yeah, so 4 CDs, 1 DVD.
Yeah. How can
I think I got it. Was it on DVD or was it on VHS? Aladdin. I've definitely got
Aladdin
it.
was DVD. I don't think there was a VHS. I think the last VHS was Rave. Up to the year 2000 was the last VHS.
Yeah, I got that.
I remember.
I got that on DVD. I love that.
Yeah.
And One Night Alone, the after show, It Ain't Over. Yeah, this is the one that I said the artwork always looked bootleggy.
Like it though.
Yeah.
But then I think that is Afshin's first project, isn't it? With him, it's the One Night Alone tour, because his first night.
I believe so. I think he talked about it when we went to the exhibition.
He's saying one of his first nights was actually that London concert, that Hammersmith Apollo.
Yeah, which was you was at? I wasn't.
Yeah,
I wasn't.
It's the first night I met some friends of ours.
Cat, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know.
We didn't realise it until like about a year after we'd been year after we really knew each other, and she was like, "Yeah, I remember going up and seeing, sneaking a peek at him sound checking when the doors were closed, and I said, did you meet someone on the way back down?" And she said, "Yeah, there was one other person there," and I was like,
"That was me."
That was me.
Yeah, it's like me and Christopher Carrier, where I remember I'd met him before, and it only came recently in the last 2 years. I remember meeting him before because I had one of the original T-shirts that you could only get the first night of 21 Nights, and I'd gone, so I think I went 3 times. And one of the times Christopher come up to me and he's like, I want your T-shirt. I was like, I bought it. He goes, it was only available the first night, or it sold out or something.
So gutted.
And it was like that. And then I recently remembered, it was like, it was Christopher that I met that came up and talked to me about my T-shirt. I was like, oh, right, yeah, completely forgot. So is there anything more you want to talk about these reissues, or is it more of, I think my question to you is, have you been happy with what's been reissued or been released?
Before I say give an overall blanket thing, I kind of want to say something that's kind of illustrative of why I'm happy of this particular group of reissues. Is how well do you know this material? You, as quite a big fan, as a really big fan of Prince, how well do you know these? What Rainbow Children, One Night Alone, One Night Alone
but
Live,
not well enough. Not
yeah.
And like with this reissues of what I'm going to buy, it's probably going to reintroduce me to this era, and I'm probably going to spend more time with this stuff. I'm probably going to buy the CD set because I'm not much of a vinyl collector.
Yeah.
I'm more digital and CD and stuff, but it's gonna. I think it's just gonna. I'm gonna reinvest in that era, if that makes sense.
Yeah, which is
especially because someone like you, when you talk about it and how we're talking now, it's more of like, oh right, I need to go back. So I think as a Prince fan, as a Prince fan, you always have your favourite eras, and you kind of get stuck in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you don't venture out, but sometimes when you venture out, you do find tracks. You're like, oh yeah, wow, I love that track. Because there's always like, oh, I didn't know that track. Or someone says, oh, you need to listen to that, and I'm like, have I listened to that? And I always, I think I trust, and this is the benefit of having Prince fans as friends now. It's like you trust their opinion, and you go back or you go forward, and you kind of move out of your comfort zone. Prince comfort zone, I think. Is that a thing? I'm going to make it a thing.
Well, I've had so many conversations where it's like, because the eras I like are on the not unpopular, but they're not the favourites. There's just some people, you have your Purple Rain people, you have your Sign of the Time, Love Sexy people.
I always split it between 80s fans and 90s fans, and then after 90s. But
even 80s fans, there's a kind of like three waves of 80s fans. You have pre-Purple Rain, Purple Rain, and like Sign of the Times, Love Sexy, like people who that's their favourite era. So,
yeah.
And whereas I'm kind of, and then even with 90s, you have like 91 to 96.
Yeah.
The Diamonds and Pearls to Gold.
Yeah. That's my strongest. 91 to 96. 97 is my strongest, and then from 97 to 2000 and I'm okay, and then anything after that, and then up to 2007, and then from that, but then I'm kind of stronger in the last years because of my involvement, my massive involvement in the community after that, and kind of on the pulse and the hit and run tours and everything going on with social media blowing up and everything after that. So I've kind of got my strong periods and then my blank periods, and I think this era stuff that we're talking about now is kind of like my blank period of something I need to do my homework more. Yeah. I think.
Well, I think that's.
Am I going to get quizzed at the end of the month? It's like, have you done your homework? Have you done your Prince homework?
One of the things I think is one of the few things apart from each other.
Yeah.
And I mean that in a kind of community sense, as in what we found with other Prince fans. One of the only good things that has happened since he's passed is the ability to take time to digest periods that were like kind of rushed through because there was just another album coming. And I think there's been a time for myself, I've actually played my favourite era the least since he passed. I realised that today. Weirdly enough, I realised that this morning when I was at work and played Interactive and Cullen Square. And I was just like, yeah, this is, and, like I felt 18 for a second, and I was like, I really haven't listened to this stuff in a while.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've been listening to more of Artificial Age, I think more. I've been invested in that album a lot more recently. I think Clouds and stuff like that. And my whole theory about the album of, I think we've talked about it before about it being about him preserving himself digitally and
kind of prophetic in a certain way,
and even with the artwork about him looking into space and the galaxy, and I believe like the stuff that he was working on was the Galaxy. It was a name for it.
It was on Black and the Blue Black
No, the stuff that was found in the studio with Galaxy.
Freedom Galaxy,
yeah.
That's a line from one of the songs on Black is the New Black, the Mono Neon one.
Right, okay, yeah. And that whole... So I've been listening to a lot of...
Artificial Age.
because I love Clouds and and stuff like that. So, but yeah, a lot of my favourite era stuff I've not listened to for a while.
I've been taking, actually, weirdly enough, I've been taking time to, because of the deluxe edition of 1999 and the deluxe edition of Purple Rain. I've been spending, and with the originals, I've been spending a lot of time absorbing those demos and outtakes a lot, and kind of going through those. And there's also a book by Dwayne Tadell, a really great book about Prince's...
Is that the my experience of...
the Purple Rain sessions.
Oh, right. Okay.
And there's going to be another one next year with the Parade sessions, and hopefully that coincides with Parade Deluxe or Sign of the Times Deluxe, because it's every studio date from that they can got documented for, from 1983 to 1984, and it's been interesting reading that book and listening to those deluxe editions and kind of putting it in some sort of order, and it's been a great experience exploring those albums while reading that book, because a lot of the same years are covered.
Yeah,
and at least the same relationships and his work ethic. And
when you read something like that, do you then go back and listen to the specific albums, or do you read it?
Oh yeah. But to be quite honest, I was never really somebody who was like, I knew New Power Generation albums, I knew Maite's album, I knew 1-800 New Funk, I knew Mavis Staples' The Voice, I knew those albums, like those kind of protege albums from that era, Carmen Electra. I never really knew Time and Sheila E. albums that well.
Okay.
And reading that book, because I think that's another important thing, I don't think that book would have really...
Do you have more appreciation?
Had the same meaning.
Do you have more appreciation for them albums once you read something like that?
Yeah, I actually think it's an essential read for anybody, because there's so many books that deal with Prince's relationships with people, mostly girlfriends and stuff like that, and in a kind of salacious way, but this kind of just tells you how that affected the studio, and that's all I'm really interested in, is the artistic output at the end of the day. And so so it's been 4 years right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 4 years in April.
That's 4 years in April. If you count the individual tracks that weren't released before he died, that is released now, it's about 64.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you did.
I did a count, and I was so surprised. I was just like, okay, let's see what is. I was expecting something like 30 songs.
Do you think the pace, like, between releases has been okay, steady? I think it's not been too much, and it's not been too little. I think it's
I'm the worst person to ask, because like, I'll have it all tomorrow if you want it. Yeah, just
I want to eat all the ice cream.
Exactly. I mean, I wanted to like vomit Prince tapes. Eat some. Well,
standing outside Paisley Park, rubbing you up, going, "You got any more reissues?"
I won't tell you what I'll do for a 1995 Ultimate Tour soundboard.
I always remember that. I think Reverend done it, the Photoshop of the Paisley Park, and it looks like it's had a whole blasted through. And I think at some point I was going to Photoshop you like running out with everything.
I think back in the day I Photoshopped a thing like it was like an episode of Hoarders. With the Paisley Park edition is just like one cleanup team tries to convince one hoarder to release thousands of hours of unreleased material.
Yeah.
But like,
I know you want everything now, but do you think the pace of the reissues?
My own reissues is one thing. Okay, reissues I'm just happy with. They come out when they come out. Reissues are great. That's stuff we've already had before in whatever form. There's so many formats that they could come up on. You could have the MPG Music Club Adios as a podcast, and you could charge for that or free for that, what have you. I mean, those could be a digital only. They probably don't lend themselves to any kind of physical release, but you could have them as an online podcast, just promoting the idea of Prince's prolificness. You can have all of those. You can have a compilation of songs that were never released physically. That Girl thing, the stuff from Third Eye Tunes, That Girl thing.
There was a lot of stuff.
Same page, different book. P-Funk. What else? There's so many that I'm actually drawing blanks.
Because this is where
Glass Cutter, songs, Silver Tongue. Just there are so many good songs that were just tossed away that day and gone the next. Some of them were gone the next week. There was just some songs that were just up for a couple of days and then gone.
But this is it, I think with the reissues, with the vinyls and the CDs, there's a physical product stream of revenue, but I also think,
and in reality that has to be profitable.
Yeah. And
part of the reason it needs to be profitable, because here's the thing, people talk about archiving like people do it for the love of it. Archives are expensive.
Yeah.
To keep your stuff in Iron Mountain is expensive. To keep your stuff in a fireproof, with a place with fire suppressors, a team of people making sure that those older tapes aren't degraded. I get why they're going through the 80s and stuff, and that they're finding lots of tapes from 1980s, 70s, because you go through that stuff first, because that's the stuff that's prone to degrading. However, I do actually worry about some of the CDRs from the late 90s, because those can fade just probably.
Really, I didn't know.
Well, those can fade. Those can fail a lot faster than some of the tapes. So I hope that the CDRs are
not been left in the sunlight.
Yeah, I think. And sometimes you look at some of those pictures of Paisley Park the day.
Yeah.
And there was blank CDs that probably had test mixes and stuff like that were just kind of festooned across the floor.
Yeah.
So I hope that they're being restored. This stuff all has to be profitable in the real world, not in the fantasy world where we all get to open up, where they get to open this massive archive and just flood the thing in one day. In the real world, this stuff has to make money because it takes money to store. It has to make money. Paisley Park has to make money because they have to pay land tax. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
the realities are just what they are.
That's how I think about it as a Prince fan. Of everything costs money to preserve. Running Paisley Park costs money.
So whatever colour vinyl they want to reissue, the new reissue in, fine.
Embrace it. Don't criticise.
Yeah, you can criticise, but just make sure it's a productive one rather than just kind of saying, this is so and so is, so and so. I'm guessing I'm reflecting internet speak of so and so is the devil. They're just trying to, do this to his legacy, or they're trying to disrespect him personally. If they don't choose the colour of vinyl that I wanted, that they're disrespecting his legacy. In terms of new stuff, I get why they're focusing on the 80s commercially. I get why they're working on the 80s actually logistically, in terms, because they're going through the old tapes, and the old tapes need to go through first, and they're the most prone to degrade. However, personally, I'm kind of ready for a little bit of a deeper exploration with the unreleased stuff. I mean, the originals.
Do you think that's what fans really want? They want the unreleased stuff.
Fans really want it all. Fans really want basically to walk into Iron Mountain and just have a copy of everything.
Yeah, can you just stick this on a hard drive, please?
You have to take what fans want with a pinch of salt, because, two random fans in love with the same era. What is it you want to see? What is the one thing that you want to see more than anything else in the world?
I was going to ask you the same question because I'll be stuck for an answer. It would be anything. I'd love to see a digital version of the Beautiful Experience as either a DVD or something or anything to do with gold or that period. Yeah. Like the tour stuff. Tours, my first Prince concert I went to was the gold era.
which was because they had the multi-screens, which was filmed multi-screen. There's a multi-screen soundboard, pro shot show of every night, ready to go.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
I'd love to see that, because my memory of the show, I remember Marte flying around and Maurice Hayes flying around. I remember the set and some of the songs, and I remember the video on the screen saying release date never.
Yeah.
So it's just more for my own. I haven't got much, and obviously it wasn't in the day of mobile phones or taking pictures, and probably wouldn't have been able to do it then anyway. But I'd like to have things that I remember that I went to that I could have.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons why that era is important to document, and because so far none of the celebrations have showed any footage from that era. I don't think.
No, I don't.
They've not showed any footage from that era, possibly because there's so much swearing that it's you know. The other thing is as well, it's one of the more important eras. Okay, so 2000s is important because of his his outreach into the online and being futurist late 90s, but the mid 90s is where he talks about record contracts and stuff, and that's another part of his legacy that's
kind of come around again recently with Stallion and her issues with her contract.
Well, look, he was ridiculed, absolutely ridiculed at the time because of the way he went about it, because cryptic speeching and stuff like that. But what he was saying, turns out everybody's on his page now, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's all about streaming music and the revenue that they make with the streaming. I think that's recently come up with Lizzo, that she's talked about how much she earns or something about
with streaming
and stuff like that.
And look at the beautiful experience. That if that is not a film from 1994 predicting pretty much the end of the current way then the current idea of the music business being deconstructed. It's all going online, and we're going to watch videos on request from our home. YouTube,
this is it. This is my fascination with Prince, is that a lot of stuff that he did and whatever was predicted of what it is now.
Yeah,
and that's me in terms of my love for Prince and technology.
In terms of music history, beautiful experience, a woefully thrown away, would almost seem like a vanity piece at the time, is now a wonderfully predictive, important part of the pre-shocks to the main earthquake that was Napster.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So, it's one of the warning shots across the bow that the music industry didn't listen to, was the beautiful experience. It's an important film historically now, and that's why I think, to me, that's why I think a big... And since that concert, the Beautiful Experience concert, was filmed, I think it was either 16 or 35mm, because he talks about changing the cameras in one of the bootlegs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they said we're going to take a pause so they can reload the cameras. So it sounds like it was film stock. Oh, okay. So that would mean that they probably could do a 4K scan of that, rather than like an SD kind of
Dear Santa
rip of a VHS. But
Dear Paisley Park.
Dear Paisley Park.
What would you want to see reissued?
Surely the Beautiful Experience would be an important one.
What would you think an 80s fan would want? What do you think a 90s fan would want? What would you think?
Well, that's my point, is that
everyone wants different things.
Everyone wants different things. So the 80s fans have got theirs. The 80s fans have got theirs. But the 90s fans are still waiting.
Yeah. Because we've kind of got 80s stuff, and now 2000 stuff. There's nothing in the middle.
Yeah, and remember Beautiful Experience. I got that in my brain now. Diamonds and Pearls was his second or third. I mean, if you don't count Batman.
Yeah, we talked about this, didn't we? Yeah, it was one of the pop quiz questions.
And in fact, because Purple Rain was part of a soundtrack too, Diamonds and Pearls is his most commercial album that wasn't part of any film. So Get Off, Cream, they were big hits. That era deserves, and some of us remember that just as fondly. I know if you ask most people, if you say the word Prince, they imagine the Prince from Purple Rain. But if you say the word Prince to me, I imagine Sexy MF video, Get Off video Prince with the Typhoon haircut. That to me is Prince. But, you know,
each one has their own.
Each one has their own.
But in terms of going back to what we talked about subscription service or something like that, I'd like to see the estate kind of embrace the community. I had two ideas in my head of doing something like Prince stories, where, because a lot of popular videos I've seen on social media has always been where celebrities tell their stories of, this is what happened when I met Prince. Regina King talked about meeting him in the lift, or
Dave Grohl does a concert.
Dave Chappelle about how Prince flipped the Breakfast Can Wait and stuck him on the cover. What I'd like to see is Questlove just sitting with another celebrity just talking about their Prince stories. That's all I'd want to, and each celebrity has their own little Prince story, and I'd love to see something like that.
Like a round table.
Yeah, like a round table, yeah. Similar to what is it the Hollywood Reporter, or where they have all the directors or the actresses and stuff like that, and they have like a round table. Just because I think that, it's I love hearing celebrities' stories of their experience with Prince, because it's kind of unique and it's obviously something that's not well known. And then the other thing I'd like to see is something like the estate embracing the fans, and doing something similar to what that recent book about I Was There.
Yeah.
Where either fans get interviewed or perhaps embracing the other Prince podcasts. You kind of got that section on the Prince website, like what Prince means to me. Yeah.
Something like that. That's a good direction.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of,
where fans could even submit their stories and share it with other fans, or they embrace the other podcasts like Peach and Black, Prince podcast, Muse to Pharaoh and stuff like that, Violet Reality of like they embrace the community and have that. So basically a place where you can get content and share content. I think, and fans.
That'd be great. I think that'd be an enjoyable thing.
Because my point being, obviously you've got the physical distribution of the reissues and stuff like that, so that's a revenue stream. And then another revenue stream could be a digital place where fans could subscribe, and there would be content there for them. I think fans would do it. I
think like an archive in the Vault Diary would be fantastic, and not just the Vault, because you could have it as like the Paisley Archives or whatever. You can have the archive, the Vault, and finding what tapes, but then you've also got what guitars and outfits, because there's so many different facets. People are interested in the fashion as much as the music, and
fashion, the guitars,
exactly. So,
well, this is it. You could have like an article a month, or like on the guitars.
They're doing really well with like the Facebooks and the Instagrams of just saying this, this object, like this object and stuff like that. They do that quite a bit, but for me, I kind of want like a bit more involved one, like a tape. This was made on this day. Also, the other thing I'd like to, from a documentary kind of point, if we're talking about like things that are being made, not as opposed to just things that are being released.
Put the question out, because I know we talked about this as well. The question of like, what would you like to see? Was it reissued or on sale? I immediately put Mike Gun in big capital.
Did you? That's exactly what I said. The gun mic.
It was like, what would you? Because obviously we've got the 3 chains of gold that I bought when I was out there.
I've got the gold chain hat. Yeah, and the 3 chains of gold.
3 chains of gold, and it was like, you need the Mike Gun to complete the set.
I'm pretty much gunning for the entire My Name Is Prince outfit, but
because it's like this is the one thing I know I've said this a million times. It's the one thing I've always wanted when it was like the mic gun. I want the mic gun because it was just so cool.
But do you want it as a working microphone?
No, I wouldn't want it as a working mic. I just want to walk around and just probably reenact Sexy MF in my head.
Yeah, so you could do like an ornamental one.
I think I told you this story. It was probably on the other podcast. Is like I got in trouble. I was working in cinema, and I kept on swinging my torch, pretending it was the mic gun, and I got into trouble.
Of course, they didn't realise that. They just thought you was like pointing this torch at people like it was a gun.
Yeah, I kept on spinning it on my finger, and it was like, oh yeah, it's like this. So ever since then, I've always wanted the mic gun. But yeah, so that's I think this is it.
I wouldn't mind a documentary or something where they, or you know, like kind of like, say, content clips for the Prince YouTube or something, where they take a tape out of the vault and have the engineer come in and listen to the tape of an unreleased song or something, and the engineer that recorded it was in the studio with him, talk through it. Say something from 1983, and you'd call in like Peggy McCreary, or you'd talking about, and you'd invite in Susan Rogers, Kyle Best from the 90s, Sylvia Massey,
and that
Michael Copeman. You bring them in with a tape that they engineered, and they talk you through They talk you through that session with the tape there. You know,
yeah, and
that would be interesting.
And the geeky part of my head is like, oh yeah, you could live stream that. And then that gets archived, and then people can watch it. It's like I said, it's the Netflix for Prince fans. It's MPG Music Club Plus, I suppose. Yeah, and especially in this day and age of subscription services, I think the content is there, and you can create. There's the archive content there, but there's also content that you can then create and monetize that.
But I mean, there's also, I mean, you got the thing that there's more content than you can actually release in one lifetime. So, and
obviously with that content you wouldn't release it all, you would do it monthly, because once you would want people, if they were subscribing, you want the content, you want people to not just subscribe for 1 month and then quit, like go through the whole lot, and I don't think anyone could anyway.
No, I mean, you can have things like there's you know, there's internet TV companies or production companies where they have several different shows, so you could have it like that. I mean, you can have one show,
Prince Plus.
Yeah, you can have like rehearsal or live thing gets a rehearsal gets.
Isn't that what he did with the original MPG Music Club? He did like releases monthly, yeah.
But what you could do is, of each month, you could break it down into 4 different programs. So a new live or sound check or something on the first week, a new video clip on the second week, a studio take or demo on the third week, and a content like engineer going through the tapes or something like that, or a kind of tour around Paisley Park, camera tour around Paisley Park, or focus on a room in Paisley Park on the 4th week. So, and that repeats itself, like, and you know.
Well, that's the other thing. If you for people that can't afford to go to Celebration, or you know, stream that online.